Yo guys, how's it going? Today we have another horrible Zefra abomination. This time it's an FTK build. I found this from the YouTuber Sacrilet. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's an OCG YouTuber. I'll leave the link to the video in the description. I've changed the deck list a little bit because I didn't really like the design philosophy there. Basically, what I'm aiming towards is to get the first turn kill as consistently as possible and to beat Maxi while I'm at it. So I'm running a lot of outs to it in addition to the Ash and the Call By. I also have a cross out, and we're also running the Gamma here. Now, I just fill this up to 60 for testing. I think there's probably merit in going down to closer to around 50-ish and then just not playing the one ofs for the cross out. I think that's not really a consistent play now with the cross out being at 1 here. Also, I cut the counter traps because if we go first, we will FTK and we will win the game. And if we go second, we don't want to see the trap either. So this just helps us in both cases. So there's not really any value in running the traps here. Also, another thing to consider is that you need the field spell as part of the combo. So you're going to be searching for that in most cases over the counter trap. Anyways, getting to the combo, basically you have the Earthbound Greater Line Walker. This card, you can special summon itself for free, and you can add an Earthbound Immortal from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And if an Earthbound Immortal is normal summoned, you can make your opponent's life points 3,000. And we'll be adding the Orca, which burns your opponent for half of its defense, which is 1,200, meaning our opponent is left with 1,800 attack. And then we burn them for 2,000 using the Dark Strike Fighter to tribute the level 10 Earthbound Immortal for 200 times its level, so 2,000. And the way we get into the Earthbound Greater Line Walker is by using the Oracle of Zefra to draw. And there's a few different ways to get here. There's some XL lines probably. There's probably some way using just a Stardust Charge or a Krakow Dragon. The way I'm doing it here is I'm using the Karakuris. This gives a really easy line through Denglong where it's completely self-contained. If you can make Auroradon, you can FTK, and you get an additional normal summon off the Symphonic Warrior mics. So the Symphonics play a huge role here. They're machines, of course, and they give you a free body off of the guitar, and they give you the second normal summon, so you can always normal summon the Orca here, which is also pretty important. They also do some comboing and stuff, and if you open a lot of them, they can even push through some hand traps. So they're really nice at doing that. Of course, we have the Endymion package here because it's just the best Zefra package. Access to Servant and the Providence just by itself gets you a negate here, as well as having Zephyrath and Scale. Even if you just open the Oracle, you get the pen summon, and then you can make a negate pretty much right afterwards. So very, very strong here. Also for just bonus bodies and some spell counters, we have the Dragon Shrine and Foolish Burial, with our targets of course being the Destrudo and the Dark Worm. Just nets us a lot of advantage, even though it is a little bit bricky. Your mileage may vary on what you want to run here. Maybe the DDD engine has some merit too, but it does eat your normal summon, so I'm not so sure about that. Electromite's going to be usually searching just for the guitar here. But there's cases where you search for, I think, the DJ to keep extending some more. The extra deck isn't all necessary. Like the rocks never came up, this never came up. This is technically a backup plan, but that's also not something that actually happens really. So you could probably find better slots for that. Maybe I'll explore this more in the future, but I don't really like the Auroradon build, so kind of doubtful. We just also have some random just cards to help us out going second here. Maybe we run more Kashtieras to get into Tomahawk more often and to just make Zeus in the Cash matchup. But we're focusing more on going first anyways. So I have a few games here. A few of them I'm playing into a max C. I have one where I'm going second as well. And I'm not just going to show off me doing the standard line FTKing uh, a bunch of times. That's kind of pointless. So I have one under max C where I try to play under Elf as much as possible. I have one where I make an Appaloosa and an Endymion early to negate anything that could potentially stop me here. And what's also really interesting is I have a replay where I don't actually open the Oracle of Zefra to search for the line walker, but I still pull off the FTK. So stay tuned for that. That line was pretty nutty. I found it on the fly and I finished the game with like 3 seconds left on the clock. Alright, I hope you guys enjoy the clips. Alright, so for our first replay, this is pretty much as standard as it gets. We use the Oracle here. Now we're going to do some phonic stuff here. This is just to get into Auroradon. And they maxi me here. Not sure what they didn't do on the first DJJ, but oh well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make the board blocker here. And now I decide, hey, I'm going to go for Sprite Elf, play under it as much as possible to like play around an imperm or something. I see they're getting a response. I check the deck list later. It's probably a Bestial, which doesn't really matter here. So the line here, after you go into Auroradon, of course protected by the Elf here, we're going to go into Denglong first. And we don't have a counter trap to add, so I'm just using this as like an ash bait at this point. And we're going to go into the level 8 Karakuri. We're going to use both of these guys. It's going to summon out the level 1 tuner thing. And the Denglong's going to summon out our Zefra. So we get to make the Dark Strike Fighter off of this, since it's a Synchro 7. And this also triggers the Oracle to place our Greater Line Walker on top of the deck. And then we banish the Karakuri to change our Synchro 1 to attack position, which draws us a card. Here I just make Baron, since I can't really play under the Elf for much longer. And we're just going to summon out the Greater Line Walker, add the Orca here. I'm going to normal summon the Orca, have to tribute over some stuff. So we're just keeping the Baron here, hopefully it's enough. And we burn our opponent to death. Make sure you have to burn with the Orca first, because you need to tribute that one for the Dark Strike Fighter. Alright, so of course, just getting to make the Auroradon does the full FTK. You're fine there. So what I'm showing off in these two games, so the last one, this one, is how you can insulate your plays even more. So here we just have all the gas, honestly. And our opponent uses Max C here. Kind of unfortunate, but we're just going to play into it. That's a nice thing. We don't have to really worry about the crackback. They ash this, which hurts a little bit. But we're going to be searching for some spells here. And here, off of this Electromite, we're going to be popping the Zefra and adding back the DJJ again, and not the guitar. Not sure why I sent that, to be honest, but honestly doesn't really matter, but we're sending anyways because we want the DJJ. So let us activate this and grab some more spell counters for the Servant, and flipping this adds us the guitar to the hand and clears your scale here again. So we're going to make a big apple here. It's going to help us play around Nib, going to play around a Veiler or something, and reactivate the guitar. Using the Providence here, which doesn't have a target, but you can see I'm getting back the 3 spell counters on the Servant of Endymion. And this actually isn't a once per turn in the scale. You can only special summon it once per turn, so it's effectively a once per turn on it. But I can activate this as much as I want as long as I get enough spell counters. So this whole line was to get the bodies out and to get enough spell counters here. It's going to let me summon out the Mighty Master so I can negate something like Infinite Impermanence as well. And we're gonna use the guitar for another body, go into the Borg plus a symphonic just for Auroradon. And you can see I have an Appaloosa and an Endymion insulating my whole line. I get to play under it. Let's go into the Denglong, into the Karakuri. And again, we're going to go Dark Strike Fighter, stack the Earthbound Glitter Line Walker on top of our deck. Special this out. And our opponent uses Ghost Spell here. Since this doesn't have to add from deck, it can also add from the graveyard. So this is a bellable target. Good thing we have the Apo here. It's going to negate it. They don't seem to have a nib or anything. So we tribute over these two. And we just burn them to death here. Alright. This game we're actually going second with this deck. Yeah, so my one of Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode comes up here, funnily enough. I just want to show off that even though this deck does run a few bricks, because it does run Auroradon and it is made for FTKing, the way I've trimmed this deck, I don't actually have any of the dead traps I can draw into, and there's still a lot of gas in here. So this still is playable going second. So we know our opponent has the Ghost Ogre, they have the Sharakusai for a bounce, and they're making a Trident right here for another pop. Not actually sure if we saw them add a trap. I don't think so. Use the Madam Spider? Yeah. So we're just going to Sphere mode this, and they're going to Ash the Dragon Shrine, which we have the Call by 4 here. I'm going to check if I actually knew that they had the trap here. 1 second. Yeah, so we saw them add this. It's basically just imperm, so we know they have that as well. So we send the Dark Worm. This also means we know it's not a call or anything. And we use this, and he lets us go through. Now, since we know this is an imperm, right? He's going to use it on Electromite or Beyond the Pendulum that we would be going into here. Beyond would let us just play. We can just normal. Oh, we already did normal. Yeah, well, I guess we're not playing anyways. But it's not like it really changes anything, because if we get hit on the Link monster, it just ends turn and runs through our resources. So we're just conserving this. We're gonna slap over the Invoker here, so he can't use the summon effect next turn. We'll be getting back the Sphere mode anyways at the end of their turn. And they have Birth here, so they get to normal send out the Unicorn. That's kind of unlucky. The Sphere mode clogged up their zones. They're ripping the Electromite here, so that's kind of awkward. And now we get back the Raw, and this is where a kind of awkward line comes up, where we have to search for the Oracle anyways, for the FTK, which we're not going to go for here, but we're going to grab the Zefra, and we're going to tribute summon the mics over the Sphere mode, and we're going to use its effect to gain an additional normal summon, which we're going to use for Synthesis. This is like an inherent thing. Like, this doesn't activate. It's kind of like Kali Yuga. It's just when this card gets summoned, you just have the additional normal summon. So fortunately for us, just completely wastes his Imperm here. That's really convenient. And we do know that his last card is Ghost Ogre, which unfortunately does really hurt the Zefra engine. But we still have our normal summon left over. So we're going to go Synthesis here. And we're going to go straight into Beyond, activating the Beyond to search for a high scale that we're missing here. And it's really important that we made sure not to activate monster effects before this, so you can't trigger the Unicorn. Like, we only use the scale effect, and here the mics doesn't actually activate, so you can't use the Unicorn against it either. Now this means we have 2 scales, and the mics is a 5, and we have the 4 here as well. We don't really care about Auroradon at this point. Like, we're really close to lethal. Beyond just pops his entire board anyways, so we're gonna go for it. Gonna pop all this stuff, and we get to swing here with the Maxi. Alright, and finally we have a game here where we don't have the Zefra Oracle, but we still perform the FTK. So I think this is pretty cool. I kind of forgot that I need the Oracle until I was pretty late into the combo. But fortunately it all worked out for me here. We even get impermed here on our Dark Worm. So that's a little bit awkward. We're just going to use a normal summon here for the DJJ. Electromite pops that to get the DJ back. Drawing to the Ash, also a dead card unfortunately. But using the DJ, we have to get a ton of bodies onto the board. Pitching the Destrudo as well, getting our additional normal summon out here. And now we're going to summon into the board blocker here. And this is like already where some of the awkward shenanigans are going on. Where we have the Auroradon here. And we made sure that we have Destrudo as a 3. So once we go through the O-Lion here, into the Denglong, we now have a level 2 tuner in the graveyard, which we didn't have before. And this means that once we resolve these effects, we get to go into the Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon to revive our O-Line and go into a Baron. Now, this is kind of awkward since we go into the Synchro here already to prepare our draw. And at this point, we can't actually synchro off into the Dark Strike Fighter because we'd miss out on stacking our deck. So what I'm going to do here is instead of synchroing these off, I'm going to use the Baron to pop the Zefra because it actually triggers the search when it's pendulum summoned or when it's destroyed by battle or card effect while in the monster zone. So we couldn't have just scaled this. It has to be in the monster zone. So we're popping that there to actually search for our Oracle here. So that's how we're getting it into rotation here. And now we still have our pendulum summon left over. So this lets me just pendulum summon it right back out from the extra deck. And now we still go into our Dark Strike Fighter, stack the top card of our deck. I'm going to draw the top card of our deck. Summon out the Greater Line Walker, get the Orca, summon this out, and then we just burn them to death here. Alright, so what are my thoughts on this deck? I still don't like the Auroradon variants because they do introduce a lot of bricks and they do force you into a pretty linear playstyle. However, this is probably one of the better versions of the Auroradon variants. Not necessarily exactly my deck list, right? I'd probably cut like the Nib and the Sphere Mode and stuff like that. Probably the Fenrirs too. Add some more just utility. Most of these, well, not most of these cards, but a lot of these cards aren't really things that actually come up consistently. So I'd probably just trim down on the deck size a little bit. If I do experiment with this some more, I will make a follow-up video, so don't worry about that. But I think it's also pretty cool to just experiment with the deck by yourself, right? So what you need for the FTK is you need a way to make the Auroradon, and you really want the additional normal summon. So we're just going to run the Symphonic Warrior engine here. At minimum, you need these two in here. This one has an Electromite search target. I'm running the bigger engine since it is very nice with a DJJ. And you grab a Synthis, get a flip, summon a bunch of stuff. That's pretty nice. And of course you need the Greater Line Walker and the Earthbound Immortal Chaka Chalhua. And then the Dark Strike Fighter kills them. And then you have the Karakuri Synchro 8 alongside this thing. Of course, the O-Line. And the rest of the deck is pretty much whatever you want, right? Of course, we have the Zefras in there. And I think that the Endymion engine is just the best fit here. But it's really up to whatever you guys want to play. So I think that's really cool. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.